My boss fired me 1 week before my $40,000 commission, just to keep it for himself. So I took his entire team. Here's how. There's a certain kind of person who mistakes your patience for weakness, who looks at someone calm, polite, and easygoing and decides that person can be used, pushed, taken from. My old boss, I'll call him Dale, was exactly that kind of person, and for almost 2 years he was right about me. I was patient. I was polite. I let things slide. Then he tried to steal $40,000 from me 1 week before it landed in my account. And he found out, the hard way, that patience and weakness are not the same thing. This is the story of how Dale fired me to keep my commission, and how that single greedy decision cost him his best clients, his bonus, his reputation, and eventually the job he was so desperate to protect. Settle in. This one builds. So, some background. I worked in business sales, the kind where you spend months, sometimes years, building a relationship before a client signs anything. It's slow, patient work. You take people to lunch. You remember their kids' names. You become the person they trust. And I was good at it. Not loud good, quiet good. While the flashy reps burned out chasing quick wins, I built a book of clients who genuinely liked me and stuck around. By my second year, I was quietly carrying a huge chunk of the team's numbers. Dale was my sales manager. Dale did not build anything. Dale took credit for things. He had a talent, and I'll give him this. It was a real talent, for being in the room when good news was announced and being mysteriously absent when something went wrong. For a while, we had a deal that worked. I closed deals. Dale stood near me while I closed deals. He got to look good to his bosses, I got my commission, and everyone was reasonably happy. The thing about my job was the commission structure. The big money didn't come when a client signed. It came when the deal vested, usually 90 days later, once the client was fully onboarded and the contract was locked in. That's when the commission officially paid out, and I had a monster vesting. The biggest deal of my career, a multi-year contract I'd spent 14 months building, was finally going to vest at the end of the quarter. My commission on it was just over $40,000. Dale knew the exact date. Of course he did. He'd watched me build it. About 3 weeks before that vesting date, Dale's tone toward me changed. Suddenly there were concerns about my performance. Suddenly I was getting written up for things that had never been a problem. A late report here, a missed meeting there, little paper cuts, documentation. I didn't understand it at first. My numbers were the best on the team. Why was I, of all people, suddenly under a microscope? And then it clicked. If I wasn't employed on the vesting date, the contract said I forfeited the commission. The deal would still pay out, to the company, and to whoever managed the account after I left. And who would manage the account after I left? Dale. He was building a case to fire me 1 week before my $40,000 vested, so he could absorb my biggest client and claim the commission himself. Now, here's where Dale made his first mistake. He assumed I hadn't noticed. He assumed I was the same easygoing guy who let things slide. But the moment those write-ups started, something in me went very quiet and very alert. And I started doing what I should tell every single person watching this to do at work. I started keeping records. Every email about that big client, every thread showing I'd sourced it, built it, closed it, and managed it from day one, I forwarded to my personal email. Every message from leadership praising me by name for that deal. Every internal note where Dale himself referred to it as my account. The signed contract. The commission schedule with my name and the dollar figure on it. I wasn't planning revenge yet. I was just protecting myself. I had a feeling, and 4 years of trusting that feeling had taught me to listen to it. Then, 8 days before the vesting date, Dale called me into a conference room with an HR rep, and he fired me. Performance issues. He actually had the nerve to look sympathetic. He said, and I'll never forget this, sometimes it's just not the right fit. No hard feelings. No hard feelings, Dale. Sure. I cleaned out my desk. I shook his hand. I smiled. And I walked out as calmly as I'd walked in. Dale thought he'd won. He thought he was about to pocket $40,000 of my work and inherit the best client relationship on the team. He had no idea what was already in motion. Step 1. The commission. Most states have very specific laws about earned wages, and in a lot of places, a commission you've effectively earned can't just be erased by firing you on a technicality right before payout. There's a legal concept that you can't fire someone in bad faith purely to avoid paying them money they've already earned. So I gathered my paper trail, the one Dale didn't know existed, and I filed a wage claim with the state labor board. Clean, organized, documented. Here's the deal I built. Here's the timeline. Here are the write-ups that appeared out of nowhere 3 weeks before a $40,000 payout. Here's leadership praising me for this exact deal by name. You didn't have to be a lawyer to see the shape of it. And the labor board investigator, it turned out, had seen this exact move many times before. But the labor claim was slow, and honestly, it was the least satisfying part. Because while that was grinding forward, I made one phone call that changed everything. I called my client, the big one, the 14-month relationship. Not to complain, not to badmouth anyone. I just called the man I'd spent over a year building trust with, told him I'd moved on from the company, thanked him sincerely for everything, and wished him well. And he was quiet for a second, and then he said, "Wait, you're the reason we signed. Where are you going next?" I told him I was weighing a couple of offers from competitors. He said, "Whoever you go with, call me first. We'd rather work with you than with them." I want to be clear. I didn't poach him. I didn't have to. The entire value of that account was the relationship, and the relationship was mine. Dale had inherited a contract. He had not inherited the trust. You can't fire someone and keep the thing that made them valuable. Within a month, I'd taken a position with a direct competitor. Within 2, my big client's contract came up for a renewal window, and they did not renew with Dale's company. They followed me. So did 2 other accounts I'd quietly built. The clients who'd stuck around because of me left because of me. Now picture Dale's quarter. He fired his top producer to steal 1 commission, and in doing so, he personally vaporized the single biggest client on the team, plus 2 more, right off the company's books. Renewal revenue gone. His team's numbers cratered. And remember that $40,000 he was so desperate to grab? Here's the beautiful part. The labor board ruled in my favor. The timing of those write-ups, against a documented record of me being the top performer praised by name for that exact deal, was about as clean a case of bad faith termination as they'd seen. The company, not wanting any of it to go further, settled. I got my commission, plus penalties, plus interest. So Dale fired me to save the company $40,000, and instead the company paid me the $40,000 anyway, lost it as a write-off, and lost hundreds of thousands in client revenue that walked out the door with me. His bosses are not stupid. They could do that math too. When leadership started asking how the team's biggest accounts had evaporated in a single quarter, all those write-ups Dale had so carefully manufactured became a paper trail pointing directly at him. The story practically told itself. He torched his best rep and his best clients to grab 1 commission, and it blew up in his face. Dale was transitioned out of the company about 6 months later. Same gentle phrase he used on me. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. I think about Dale sometimes. Not with anger. I'm well past that. More with a kind of quiet appreciation. Because he taught me something valuable about how the world actually works. People who take from the quiet ones are betting that the quiet ones won't do anything about it. Usually, they're right. That's why they keep doing it. But every once in a while, they pick the wrong quiet one, the one who kept the emails, the one who knew the relationships were never really theirs to take, the one who smiled, shook your hand, and walked out, already 3 moves ahead. So forward your work emails to yourself, know your wage laws, and never, ever assume the calm person across the table has nothing in their back pocket. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe. I post a new story like this every week. And tell me in the comments, was the labor board enough, or was taking the clients the real justice? I already know my answer. I'll see you in the next one.